small round table chomping on the strawberry Pop-Tart. Various sprinkle canisters and bowls of frosting and bits of the cookies she'd ruined in her haste to finish the task still littered the entire surface. But she would have to clean up this mess later. "Of course you're going to school." Melody couldn't shake the gnawing heartache as easily as she shook the cookie crumbs from her lap when she stood. "I just have to get—" Her gaze landed on the oven clock. 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock! She spun and banged her knee on the table leg, gagging back a word that would put her in the hole with the swear jar yet again. So far, she'd had to pay out more than either of the boys. "Why didn't you boys tell me we were late?" They couldn't be late. She was already skating on thin ice with Mr. Braxton. The principal had personally called her about the boys' tardies last week, and she'd assured him they would be on time every day through the end of the year. Tate shrugged and calmly sat down next to his brother. "I thought you knew what time it was." "I didn't know." She flailed around the cramped kitchen, stumbling to get the rest of the cookies packed up in the box she'd set out on the counter last night before apparently passing out face down in a pile of frosting. "Get your backpacks ready," she called on her way up the steep, narrow stairs. When she and Thomas had bought this old Victorian, the pitched roof and the wraparound front porch and the turrets had charmed her into believing it was a dream come true. But she'd lost count of how many times she'd tripped going up the ancient staircase. Inside her room, she quickly shed yesterday's sweats and pulled on a pair of somewhat wrinkled jeans and an asymmetrical tunic sweater she designed for her boutique. There'd be no helping her hair now, though, so she left her messy bun intact and practically skied back down the steps, gripping the railing so she didn't crash. Finn and Tate had gotten their backpacks on, but were currently playing frisbee with one of the cookies. Melody intercepted the confection mid-air and slam-dunked it into the trash can. "Get in the car, you two." Swiping the box of cookies off the counter, she managed to snatch her purse off the hook by the door and followed them into the garage, nearly tripping over Finn's bike, which lay right in her path to the driver's side. "Sorry, Mom." He aimed his repentant smile at her, batting his thick dark eyelashes for good measure, and wisely moved the bike before a word could escape her lips. The little angel. "Buckle up," Melody advised before easing the car out of their garage. A new layer of snow blanketed the driveway, so she'd better take it slow. Don't look at the clock. But it was too late. They were officially 13 minutes behind schedule. The bell had already rung, and the rest of the kids would be sitting in class when Finn and Tate ambled in. Again. "Are we going to have to go to Mr. Braxton's office?" Tate uttered a heavy sigh. "We were already in there 4 times last week." "Yes, I'm aware." Melody paused at the stop sign and waited for their neighbor, Mr. Munson, to cross the street. Even with her blood pressure spiking, she buzzed down the window and called, "Good morning," because the poor man had lost his wife 2 months ago. "Nice to see you, Melody," he waved. "And you too, boys. Drive safe. It's real slick out this morning." "Will do. Have a good day." She buzzed the window back up and blasted the heat. "I still don't see why we had to go to the principal's office for trying to set the ants from Mrs. Altman's ant farm free," Finn mumbled. "They shouldn't be stuck in one dirt tunnel. They should be able to live their lives outside of captivity." That was the thing about her boys. They didn't mean to get into trouble. It was like she told Mr. Braxton on more than one occasion. They were spirited and curious and busy, but they were also respectful kids, and they listened to authority. For the most part, anyway. The ants belong to your science teacher, though, so you can't set them free without permission. She shot a stern glance into the rearview mirror. "And can we make a pact? How about we refrain from any more visits to the principal's office for the rest of the year?" After today, that would be the best Christmas gift she'd ever gotten. Lately, she'd spent entirely too much time with Mr. Braxton. Seriously, she hadn't received this many lectures since she'd been 10 years old. She and the principal were roughly the same age, so she'd heard, but every